Hey folks, it's Philipp with the Everyday Fighter podcast. When I work with a group of people, I typically look at their skill level and their experience, and they usually fall into three different categories, if you will, on a scale. Now, these are not absolute categories. There's a lot of overlap in between. But typically this is the way that it goes. And I'll actually relate this to kind of holding pads for folks, but this could apply, in other areas as well. So whether you're grappling or whether you're doing clinch work or anything along those lines, you can kind of apply these different categories to that as well. Okay, so the first one is what I call basic. Now, typically it's the people that have zero experience with, at least in this particular case, I'm talking about pad holding, so striking, boxing, anything along those lines. They just don't have any experience with it, and their skill level, as a result, is pretty low. So when they start out, usually this basic level is that they're just holding pads for someone, right? There's not a lot of movement in there. Sometimes they're not holding their pads in the right way, meaning that they're kind of, if we're talking about boxing, they're holding their hands out very wide so that their partner has to punch kind of cross, almost like as an X to hit these pads. And they're really not moving around too much. And I like to equate the people in this category as kind of human punching bags. They see that people will hit the heavy bag, right? And they think, well, if I'm holding the pads, then I'm pretty much just a substitute for that heavy bag, okay? And whenever I see that, I pretty much get them out of that as soon as possible. I don't want them hanging out at that level, even if it's their first day. I don't want them hanging out at that level for very long at all. All right. So I keep a very close eye on that so that I can get them to at least the next level, which is what I call active. So whereas before there really wasn't any focus to what the pad holder is doing. So if you're the pad holder, you weren't really focused on anything other than just holding the pads up, and maybe you call out the technique, or maybe you call out the combo. Okay, give me a 1, 2, 3, or whatever it might be, and sometimes you might do the movement properly to hold the pads to correspond properly with the coming strikes. Most of the time you don't, right? But again, that's the situation if you just don't have an experience with it. It's kind of natural, but you don't want to live there, right? You ultimately want to get as soon as possible to the next level, which is what I call active. So that is more of a focus on the partner that you are working with. So if you're the one that's holding the pads for me, then you are actually evaluating my technique, right? Just based on what you saw, not only from the instructor, but also from the kind of maybe more experienced, more advanced people in the room. What should I look like in throwing this technique or performing this, particular move? And then you can kind of coach me on that a bit. So the focus is on helping to make me better. Part of that in terms of pad holding is that you're actually holding the pads so that it's simulating what the exercise is calling for. So for example, if you're holding for a 1, 2, 3, so it's a jab, cross, hook, so 2 straight punches and then following up with a hook to the side of, in this case, side of the head, then you're holding the pads in a way that they're close together, pretty much simulating me hitting a head. Okay, so if I threw a punch and it penetrated through the target, which was, this imaginary head, then it hits the pad that you're holding for me, right? So you're keeping it nice and tight. You're also encouraging me making sure that if I'm tired, then hey, you're encouraged. Come on, man, you can do it. You can do it. Just keep going. Couple more, whatever it might be. You're evaluating that my technique is actually effective or not. Okay, how am I hitting the pad? Was it weak? Was it really definitive? That strike? Was my timing good? Would I have caught you off guard if that's the goal of the drill? And you can give me that feedback. Maybe it's such that I'm starting to drop my hands, especially as the round progresses. I'm getting tired from holding my hands up doing this drill. Maybe that's something where you just tell me, hey man, keep your hands up, or you give me a little tap with your mitts on my head. Hey, just letting you know that your hands are coming down, so you could be open for a strike, like I'm, kind of patting you right now. Okay. So that's active. So your focus in that case is that you're looking to improve your partner. The third one, which is where I try to get everybody to as soon as possible. If it's such that it's this person's first day, then I start grooming them to that point where this is the goal, right? You are looking to get yourself to be a dynamic partner, a dynamic, in this case, pad holder. Okay, so in terms of pad holding, not only is it such that you're focused on me improving in terms of drilling that particular technique, but you are thinking about yourself, right? You're thinking about, oh wow, if I'm holding for Philip and he is doing this technique on me, how would I actually react? So if I'm getting this, jab cross hook coming my way, I mean, am I going to block? Am I going to slip? Am I going to, roll under? How would I do that? And you start thinking of it more along the lines of just of sparring as opposed to holding pads for me. You're actually active in it as well. You're looking to improve your skills based on what I'm giving you. And when you do that, not only are you actively learning, but it takes my skill that I'm practicing to the next level, which is, oh my gosh, I'm not just throwing at pads here. I'm actually throwing at a person. This person's moving around. I'm going to have to adjust to that. I'm going to have to learn the footwork to follow this person around or to perform the technique on somebody that is actually looking to do something to me, or at least react in different ways to what I might be throwing. So this is where you inject yourself into this process. So you're not just a punching bag. You're not just looking to train me, but you're also looking to improve your own skills. And because your skills are looking to improve, now it's egging me on to be like, oh, well, if he reacted that way, then what do I do then? And then I start thinking, and it just keeps on going from there. Now, of course, you rein that in a little bit within the confines of the drill that the instructor is giving to you. I mean, there's a reason that they've told you to do that, but push it a little bit, right? If you've got yourself to a point where you both know the ones and twos of it, well, what's the next level for you? Okay, what is the way that you both can get more out of the confines of the drill that you are working? So I encourage you to consider that when you are training next. But also think about this concept of being a good partner. Where are you on that scale of being a good partner? Whether it is pad holding like we were just talking about now, or if it's grappling, or even outside of the ring, off of the mat, where you are working with coworkers, or you have a group of people that you all are getting together to help each other. Well, in what capacity are you helping each other? What type of intensity are you bringing to that process so both of you are getting more out of the exercise if you're working one-on-one with somebody, right? So anyway, guys, that's it for me. Hope that was helpful for you. We'll talk to you next time. This is Philip with the Everyday Fighter Podcast.